Everybody loves a horror game. Whether you're running scared, nervously peeping around each corner, or using your wits to solve a variety of gruesome puzzles, there's always some kind of edge to keep you on your toes. But what if you could become what players run from? Would you enjoy the thrill of the hunt? Dead by Daylight was initially released just over 2 years ago. Developed by Behaviour Interactive and published by Starbreeze Publishing, the game itself has sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Its gradual, but constant success has given DBD a cult following over the last 2 years. So what's the secret behind Dead by Daylight's success? The year is 2016. It's a slow year for video games. Disappointment came with every release and judgment came with every pre-order. Companies were hyping up games that just simply did not deliver. But there was a silver lining within this cloudy year. More unique games had a chance to break into the market. The Witness, Firewatch, Inside, and The Darkest Dungeon were all groundbreaking games. But there was one company which was set to debut its first standalone game: Behaviour Interactive. Dead by Daylight started being developed in late 2014. Prior to this, the horror game market was being revived, with games like Alien Isolation, Outlast, and Amnesia being chart toppers. A new wave of gaming culture had begun, although its effects would not be felt for years to come. But all these games shared an all too familiar format. They were the killers, and you were its victims. However, DBD would soon put an end to that. At first, Dead by Daylight was arranged to be a 1 versus 1 game, explained to be the ultimate hide and seek, where a single survivor would have multiple lives. However, this idea was scrapped pretty fast, when the notion of relying on teammates and only having one life soon added a unique scare to the game. Behaviour Interactive also played around with the idea of the killer being played in third person while the survivors were controlled in first person. This idea itself was flipped upside down when they came to the conclusion that giving survivors more to worry about actually made the game scarier. Despite Dead by Daylight having such a unique setting, it was not the first asymmetrical game that featured a 1 versus 4 playstyle. Evolve, a game developed by Turtle Rock Studios, was released in early 2015. The game looked promising enough, but with bland gameplay and repetitive matchmaking, the game flopped. Maybe the game was just simply ahead of its time, or maybe the 1v4 playstyle was just always doomed to fail. When Dead by Daylight was released, it was met with positive reviews, but nothing groundbreaking. Critics claimed the game fell short in some respects, or that Dead by Daylight can get its hooks into you, but it might not get you to stick. Despite this, the game sold over 1.5 million copies within its first 2 months, and kept on selling throughout the year before its console release in 2017. But soon enough, it would be met with major competition. Friday the 13th, the game, was brought out to the public on the 26th of May 2017, with a big name attached to it, and the promise of more thrills with a scarier backdrop. The game flourished in its first 2 months, selling around 1.8 million copies for almost double the original price of Dead by Daylight. The game itself was even backed by raving reviews, being dubbed the Dead by Daylight killer. But this was not the case. With a mix of buggy gameplay and a singular killer to choose from, the community surrounding Friday the 13th fizzled as fast as it arrived. The game that was destined to destroy its father had failed. But why didn't DBD fall with it? Why did most of the community from Friday the 13th jump ship to Dead by Daylight? Freedom. The choice to choose what you play, how you play, and who you play as is what gave DBD the lead. If you wanted to run in fear and nervously escape, you could choose to be a survivor. But if you preferred the gruesome route, causing fear and blocking the escape, you could choose to play as the killer. And not just one killer. At the time Friday the 13th was released, Dead by Daylight had an array of 9 killers to choose from, all with unique powers and weapons. Like, for example, the Trapper, who has bear traps which ensnare any unlucky foe, or the Hillbilly's Chainsaw, which saw you run down your victims with a horrific slice. The game at the time even had 2 licensed killers from external franchises, Leatherface from the Chainsaw Massacre, and Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise. Each killer had their own unique perks, and the same could be said for each survivor. You chose who you played and how you played. You were given a choice that you had to live with. There was also a level of uncertainty to the game. You didn't know what perks other survivors were running, or even what killer you were going up against. So the start of the game was always the scariest. Also, with the way that Dead by Daylight was formatted, the more you played, the more you were rewarded. Stronger perks, better items, and the availability to have a better, more distinct playstyle. Ranking up in this game was a mix between playtime and skill, and this is what set DBD apart from Friday the 13th. This is the real reason Friday the 13th didn't stand a chance. Dead by Daylight was made to last. The community surrounding Dead by Daylight was growing. Its player base was growing. Twitch streamers grew more popular, and YouTube content became more and more interesting and unique. Behaviour Interactive had its foot in the door, and they knew it. Shortly after the fall of Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street and the pig scene from the Saw franchise joined the killer roster. Once again, they brought a unique set of skills and weapons that players would have to adapt to, keeping the game fresh. This is when Behaviour Interactive announced that 4 new killers would be released by March 2019. This was done to entice players, keeping them aware of what's to come and when it comes. In my opinion, this constant barrage of content is what supplies Dead by Daylight with its freshness. New perks, new killers, new maps and new survivors, all being dished out at a steady pace. Behaviour Interactive were making sure to keep their players happy. Behaviour Interactive had 3 strict rules. The first, don't break up the community. New maps were always available to everyone so people could just still play together, with only the killers and survivors being paid for content. Rule number 2, if DLC could be released for free, it would be. Behaviour Digital also believed that giving back to the community would only make it stronger, which helped keep the longevity of Dead by Daylight strong. And last, rule number 3, making sure to avoid pay to win. Cosmetics in the game would be flashy, so if anything they would make it easier to be spotted, dubbing them as pay to lose. This is what I believe should become the golden rules of matchmaking. The style of development is popular in a lot of games already, like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, PUBG, Fortnite, and even in CD Projekt's The Witcher 3. It's the notation of allowing players to stay within the community regardless of their financial situation or availability to purchase content. I strongly believe this has done nothing but toughened the Dead by Daylight community. And with future content on the horizon and rumours of more licensed characters around the corner, I can't see this community fizzling out anytime soon. The gaming industry is constantly going through new trends, and with it comes a constant storm of terrible games. Dead by Daylight broke through some awful trends and continues to do so even in this current year. I believe the rise of Battle Royale games has only made Dead by Daylight so much more popular. To have a solid game with a solid community stand as a beacon of hope within the current gaming industry. With more and more games becoming less unique, Behaviour Interactive's Dead by Daylight comes across as more unique and satisfying. There has been very few attempts to clone what Dead by Daylight has created, and most of these attempts have failed at the gates. I'm Jabo, and thank you guys so much for watching. Talking about clones, DeathGarden is having a closed beta right now, and in the description of this video are 2 codes I have spare for it. The beta is running on until 26th of June, so first come first served. I mean, if you made it to this far into the video, you deserve it. See you guys later. Bye.